Right. Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone? And welcome to Startup Wise Guys and the 2024 Year of Cybersecurity and Deterrence Fireside Chat. I hope everyone's excited for the next 45 minutes. We've got some great I won't say panelists because that's a very old school team. We've got some great controversial startup ecosystem players over here, and our objective is to have a conversation and with you who are viewing on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, I suppose, on all the live channels, get questions from you in the comments and make this as interactive as possible. So I hope you can hear me well. I hope we are good with the technical stuff, and we're going to start. But just a reminder, if you're watching us, and I'm going to keep saying this, if you're watching us on any of the social media channels, this is interactive. So you can comment on the stream, and those comments will come straight to us, and I can actually see them come straight to us live over here, and we'll ask them to this panel. We don't have to wait till the end. There's no like official Q&A. This is going to be a Q&A going forward as well, right? So let's start. My name is Farid. I'm one of the general partners at Startup Wise Guys Cyber Fund One. If you don't know Startup Wise Guys, we're one of the largest investors in Europe with about over 400 investments, but also in the space of cybersecurity and dual use defense. We're one of the largest by number investor in Europe with over 30 investments. And we love to find great startups, especially startups in defense, in dual use, and in cyber defense. And we invest and work with them to help them grow. And we also partner with a lot of great VCs who normally join our startups as investors, essentially trying to make sure that the spotlight on this vertical stays. So that's the role I play, but I'm also the moderator for today. And the moderator for today because I like to talk a lot, but then I'm hoping these guys will keep me quiet. So we've got three guests over here. We're trying to keep it small and lean, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. They have about a minute each. I'm going to start with whoever I can see on my screen first. So let's start with Andrea Toponi from Cyber Angels. Andrea, go ahead. Introduce yourself a little bit for the audience.
Okay, thanks for having me here, Farid. Thank you very much. And my name is Andrea Toponi, CEO, founder of Cyber Angels. Cyber Angels is a SaaS cybersecurity platform to help small businesses to be more aware about cybersecurity and compliance.
Right. Nice and sweet and concise information. I love
Also,
it. This is what Startup Wise Guys does to you. Fantastic. I'm gonna go on the other side now. I've got Sandro. Sandro's. I met Sandro like probably the beginning of last year, and we've been collaborating and talking on and off since then. So, Sandro, thanks a lot for making time today. Let's hear what you do in about a minute.
Thank you, Farid, for inviting me. So I am the founder of Security Matters. I was one of the founders there and CEO for some time. And after that, after exiting, I went back to being a professor, and I joined a VC fund, CISO, which is specialized in robotics and cybersecurity. I am located in Italy, but I work all over Europe and sometimes in the US. And cybersecurity is one of my
Absolutely. And I love that you have this multi hat. And I've worn multiple hats, and it's very, very confusing a lot of times because you get passionate about startups, but then also you're an investor, and so you need to be a little bit more concerned. And then you're also a professor,
No, you
so
have
you
to be
also are.
passionate, and that's it.
You have
I'm
to be
passionate.
passionate. You have to
Yeah,
go. You have to go for it.
that's
Fantastic. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the intro. Then, and last but not the least, we have Mohan. I know Mohan for nearly now 2 years, and I know for a fact it's extremely difficult to get hold of Mohan. So today, we're super excited to have him on board as well. And he has a very interesting hat as well. So I'm going to let Mohan introduce himself. But go ahead, Mohan. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Farid. Hey, Andrea. Andrea. So I'm Mohan. I'm co-founder of 444. We are a cybersecurity marketplace designed for small and medium businesses. SMBs actually have a lot of budget. Many people think they don't have money to buy cybersecurity products and services, but they don't have people to decide what to buy. So we are a marketplace based in India, selling across US and Asia Pacific. And Startup Wise gets accelerated really quick. They helped us launch in Europe. We recently, in the last month, launched an office in London as well. So big thank you to Farid for having me and accelerating us.
No, that was. It's not me. It's not me. It's all you guys. It's all you guys. Just to get everybody on board, like why, like so we had to pick startups for this panel, for this fireside chat, and the reason I invited Mohan was because not only is it like a traditional startup, but it's also a marketplace. So we're trying to get more insights on what people are spending money on. So today is a little bit different. It's not about going to talk about, oh yeah, there's so many breaches, blah blah blah. Yeah, we all know the problem exists. We all know the problem exists. We know it's bad. I can give you 100 statistics that will scare the living daylights out of you, and we know that, right? So today we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening and what we can do about it with respect to how can we solve these problems? How do startups kind of come and build their products and services? How do we get customers? What customers are there? All this kind of stuff that maybe these numbers overshadow them sometimes by creating fear, right? But before we do that, I did mention to everybody that we have the live stream happening on multiple social media kind of streams. And there's one question that I want to take a poll on, and I'm going to take a poll on from all our participants as well. But first, I'm going to ask this question to everybody listening to us, and I'm going to keep repeating this question over and over occasionally during the session to get some insights as to what people think. And the question that I have is, has cybersecurity reached its peak? Like, has the hype reached? I mean, this is it. This is like the most informed we're ever going to be of cybersecurity. Like, we have like startups now, companies now. There's investment funds doing it now. Are we now at peak cybersecurity? And all I want to hear is a yes or no. Yes, we are at peak cybersecurity. Everything that needed to be done with respect to creating awareness and information is done. No, we are not at peak cybersecurity, so that would be a no. And that would be well, there's still a lot of work to be done, and a lot of people still don't understand or know the importance of cybersecurity. So I would love to see these on the comments. Type yes or no, and I'll keep asking this question again. But now I want to see a show of hands. How many of our three panelists think that we have reached peak cybersecurity? Okay, so nobody thinks we've reached peak cybersecurity, and I suppose that everybody thinks that all those who don't think we haven't reached peak cybersecurity, so we're not at peak cybersecurity, can raise their hands. And are we seeing anyone raise their hands? Come on, guys. Okay, Mohan,
Sorry,
San,
lost the question. Say that again.
have we reached peak cybersecurity? Like, are we at the
No.
epitome
No,
now? So
no.
the no's, Andrea, yes or no?
No, not at all. Already, it depends
Okay.
on the segment that you are targeting, small business or
Okay.
enterprises. But no,
Okay. Wait. So we're gonna come to that. So all three of you guys think we haven't reached peak cybersecurity, and this is not a controversial question, but it's controversial because from the perspective of governments and investments, and even like the big corporates, I often hear them saying like, "Oh no, our customers don't need any more cybersecurity. Like we've reached peak cybersecurity," and that's why this question was kind of designed to kind of ask whether that's just me meeting the wrong people or what's happening there. Okay, but okay. Now I just wanted to kind of like everybody said no, so let's start with let's start with Sandro. Sandro, like tell me like why you think that this is a no, or rather what have we done so far and what's left to do. And then Mohan and Andrea, you guys can come in, and of course viewers listening to us, you can put our comments. I'm actually getting those comments as well, so if you put the comments and the questions, we'll ask them as well. So go ahead, Sandro. Tell us like what do you think has been
Well,
done and
very
what
very
is
simply, if you
left
talk
to
to the
do.
big, sorry for if you talk, you say if I talk to the big corporates, they say we have done cybersecurity, and it's true to some extent. But if you go just one step below the big corporates, it's a huge sea of smaller corporates, medium and smaller enterprise. They have nothing. And that's the majority of the market. So that market is still green and has to be reached. So if we look at the pure numbers, there's a lot of cybersecurity to do yet. So
Okay, what about you, Mohan? Anything to add to that? Do you see anything in your marketplace that's an interesting trend?
Yeah. So with Gen AI, the 90 percentile started looking at hacking, right? So earlier
Okay,
it's mostly the guys who know how to write the scripts, how to get in. They've been trained, they've got certifications, and then they're bounty hunters, right? uh, but if you look at the script kiddies who don't know how to actually find bugs and stuff like that, they have Gen AI next to them, and they are as powerful as these actual hackers, right? So I think we are just starting up in terms of a real security, real cybersecurity, right? So is I think is just the baseline is set up now. It's just going to be very essential. It's going to
okay,
be
and
it's going to be moving away from being an insurance to being like a defense budget for every company.
okay, okay. So, and just for people who might not know, can you just tell them what Gen AI means? For
Generative
those who
AI
don't
like
know.
Chat GPT and
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So generative, so regenerative AI. With that, you're saying that it's equipping more people to cause a little bit more harm who would normally otherwise need a lot of work to do. Right? Okay, great. Andrea, what about you? You already mentioned something about the vertical or the, but tell us a little bit more about your thoughts on this.
Yeah, basically, if we speak about enterprises, if we talk with enterprise guys, of course, cybersecurity is something that they already addressed so far, so many years ago, let's say. But speaking with talking every day with a small business owner all around the globe, not only in Italy or in Europe, but also in US, basically, you can feel a sort of distance between what we call baseline cybersecurity. And so that's why I think we are not at the peak at all, but at the early stage of the starting up. Yeah.
Okay, and this is interesting because I wanted to kind of point out something over here. Like Sandro really talked about the customer side of things, about how there's like, there might be some baseline in some corporates, which is quite interesting because whenever we meet startups, they're always like, oh yeah, I want to sell to the telcos, to the banks. And then it's very difficult to tell them like, yeah, they're a big market, but they already have like some kind of a baseline, maybe not a good enough baseline. And what Andrea and Mohan are trying, and Andrea, you kind of mentioned something similar as well, like there is a baseline, but we're not even close to the baseline in a lot of customers. And Mohan, what you talked about was not so much the customer side of things, but the hacker side of things, the threat side of things. That, well, there's a baseline already in the threat, which is these guys who are bounty hunters, and now with new technology we have opportunists, people coming in, which was actually quite cool because this has happened generationally as well. Like this has happened, in my generation there were these like small software pieces that you could use to just get simple passwords for Hotmail and for simple things on the internet. And I feel like this is kind of a generation thing, like
Yeah.
the script reviews, as you said. So that's interesting. And while we get to this, this also kind of like sets the stage up because everybody tells me, oh, but this is now too crowded. And I so wanted to kind of also ask this question, like, is this space too crowded? Like from a perspective of both a supplier, a customer, and maybe even an investor, maybe all three. Is this like getting too crowded now, or like what seems to be this? What seems to be missing? What seems to be too much? And I want to kind of ask Andrea to start off on this, and then we'll go to Sandro and then Mohan. What do you guys think?
No, honestly, I don't think it's too crowded because you know customer needs a security solution, needs some offer. And so if we are not able to provide something that customer want to use, we are not winning our game. So I think the field is very wide. We can have our specific focus also we can all call it a niche market, a niche customers. But if we are more than than few, I think that all the ecosystem can benefit from this.
But what do you think, Andrea? What is missing? Like, I mean, what is the thing that's currently missing in this ecosystem? Is it money? Is it solutions? Is it customers? Like, what would be the ideal thing if you had one wish? What would that be in the
Uh,
sector?
I would say that solution is missing. Maybe we should explain better or provide better our solution to customer. Sometimes
Okay,
we start providing solution from the builder point of view. We should wear the shoes of the customer. And so, what if I'm the
okay,
customer? I will buy your solution. That's my
okay.
main.
Okay, so from your perspective, like just the ability to be able to get the customer to understand, what's missing. By the way, while I'm asking this, I think next Sandro is going to tell us a little bit more about what he thinks. But I know like Uma is listening, Rodolfo is listening, Sergio is listening. We got plenty of people. Diana is listening. Like all of you guys, ask some questions, give comments. I'm going to read them out as well, so we can get a bit of a conversation going. But Sandro, tell me like what is missing? Like if you had one wand as a cybersecurity investor, exeter, what would you want in this
What
ecosystem?
do you mean? Do you mean what is missing in terms of technology? What is the market demanding that is not being supplied yet,
Yeah,
or what is missing in
yeah.
terms of? Um, okay,
For
well,
both, for startups as well, and for the market as well.
I think startups. I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, you asked before the question whether it's too crowded or not. That's a $1 million question, right? I mean, if it, we would all VC would like to know: is it too crowded? Is there too much money? I think we come from a period in which there was a healthy amount of money.
Hmm.
The amount of money out there, it's healthy, I think now. There is a risk that it's going to be too much. If it's going to be too much, then the place is going to be too crowded, and then we're going to find too many dead companies along the path, and that's not nice. But I don't have a glass ball to tell you whether this is too much or not. In terms of technology, so I pass on the first question. In terms of technology, what I see is a lot of consolidation in present technology. I don't see a lot of new things coming up. What I miss a lot is a good proposition for solving the supply chain, the technological supply chain problem, the SBOM, all the derivatives of the SBOM problem, which goes from handling vulnerability to the risk management of the end use. And companies have not yet been able to find the right solution for this. Probably because it's going to be a complex combination of product and services. And combining product and services is something VCs are very scared of. But I think
Hmm.
that for that specific aspect, we will have to do that. We have to accept that.
Okay, that's very interesting. So you already mentioned something from a technology perspective that's missing. Mohan, what about you? You're running a marketplace. I mean, this is your bread and butter. You know exactly what guys come and ask you for, and what you don't have. So tell us a little bit more about what you see as insights from what you guys are doing.
So for the first question, is it crowded? Is it unnecessary? The answer is, are you saying that by looking at a Gartner report, or are you saying
No,
that
just
from a
generally. I mean, is there like
right?
so
So
many now
I mean, I
software
think
tools
yeah, like
that
Sandro said,
that
it's a
people are
million
getting
dollar question,
overwhelmed?
right? It's a million
Yeah.
dollar question, and I think what the issue there is the fragmentation that is in cybersecurity, right? If you look at
Hmm.
hackers, if you look at the dark web and everything, if a hack happens, it reaches every other hacker in less than half an hour, right? They have communication and distribution way better than anyone else, right? We saw how Silk Route happened and all that, right?
Hmm.
On the other side, you have cybersecurity companies. Everyone is working in silos, right? No one is
Yeah.
disclosing that they have identified a hack, right? If Trend Micro could actually catch Akira ransomware, none others can uh, uh, track it. Sorry, no, everybody else have to suffer,
Hmm.
right? There's no communication at all, right? So I don't think it's the problem of commoditization or problem of too many. I think it's a problem of fragmentation, right? It's very layered.
Okay.
Cybersecurity is very layered, right?
Hmm.
So I think I also agree with Sandro in terms of distribution. I think it's the distribution. If there's a startup who's building a web application firewall that is designed for hospitals, they struggle with mainly one thing: distribution, right? But
Hmm.
MSSPs are not interested because small hospitals, no, this is first time product and margins are low, so we can't take it there. So
Yeah.
distribution is the most important thing, I think, in terms of whether it's crowded or not. It's not at all crowded. Distribution is very broken. It's fragmented. Um, and in terms
Hmm.
of money in the market and innovations happening,
Yeah.
um, I think we just touched. It's like the agricultural revolution happened, right? And then after that, you have the industrial revolution
Hmm.
that happened, right? So we just saw uh, the agricultural revolution, like we built our baseline, and now it's the industrial revolution, which is bots doing
The
most of
next
the
big
work,
thing.
and it's a new era, right? And there's space tech, there's so many things, the boundaries are opening and stuff like that. And cybersecurity is like eternal. It's Thanos. It takes a lot of people to take it out, or probably
Yeah.
so many people to take it out. So it's only going to grow
Okay.
because everything is going to emerge. So
So so if you needed something like if you had a magic wand and for the whole cybersecurity ecosystem, so this could be either, money or customers or technology, what would be one thing that you want, like if you had a magic wand?
I would have an app store for cybersecurity products, and
Oh,
that's what
that's
I'm trying to build.
nice plug. Nice plug in there. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, but I think there is a bit of like this complexity of also buying
yeah.
cybersecurity products. But I'm going to kind of move on to a question that is coming in from one of the comments, and I really like this question because it kind of is like it's like a question I haven't thought of, but basically, it's, Sergio's asking, he has this feeling that the response that small medium enterprises have to the amount of attacks and the cybersecurity threat is very passive. Like, I mean, they'll pay for any kind of insurance. They'll pay for unemployment insurance, maternity insurance, paternity insurance, healthcare insurance, like floods, terrorist attacks, but then they won't pay for cybersecurity insurance. Like this is like an oxy. Like it's a very good question because you never think of like, yeah, I mean these guys pay for everything. They're paying for like insurance for fluctuation on forex, like on the exchange rates on currencies, and they would not like take cybersecurity insurance seriously. Any thoughts on this? And I'll keep this open to anybody who wants to answer. I mean, go for it.
I can try to
Um,
elaborate some thoughts.
Go for it.
I'm a very big fan of the holistic approach in cybersecurity. I would believe that in the future, not now because we are not yet here, but in the future, we'll see a more tight integration between compliance
Mhm.
frameworks and operational cybersecurity, and that will drive to a more a, a more awareness in the field about the small business, because my focus is small business, and
Yeah.
cybersecurity and cyber insurance will be super related in the future, but not now. But today, cybersecurity is again is an offering market. It's not a demand marketing, demand market. And in the future, I want to see cybersecurity and insurance tied to in a whole proposal for our customers.
But Andrea, tell me, if I remember correctly, did you guys offer cyber insurance, or do you partner with somebody to provide insurance, or am I
Yeah,
making this up?
yeah, you're
You
right.
do,
We
right?
are, yeah, we do. We are partnered with.
But then what's the holdup? Because Mohan said something quite interesting. Like it's very difficult to buy cybersecurity, and so therefore I would love to have an app store, right, where people can come and know what part of the puzzle they need. But then if you don't know it, the simplest thing you would do is like you would buy insurance, right? You would be like, hey, I'm just going to cover my risk and get insurance. So why aren't people buying insurance? Why aren't small? I have two businesses. I don't have cybersecurity insurance. Like it makes me think, right? Why
Yeah.
don't I
So
buy it? Is it just a
Yeah,
lack of
yeah, Farid, it's the process. It's the process of getting the insurance, right? The underwriter have to score your premium, right? They have to tell you
Yeah.
what your premium is, right? So
But
that
Andrea's
means,
business does that.
yeah,
Yeah,
He gives a score, right? He gives a
right.
score.
Somebody has to buy Andrea's business to know that they have to buy cyber insurance,
yeah, but
right? Yeah, that's not how it works, right? So even if somebody want to go on their own and get it, they have a lot of questions to answer. Andrea just automated that, right?
yeah,
Um,
and basically,
Sam?
well, just let me just add a
Yeah.
bit, because we are talking about insurance, and this specific period, insurer are very far away to propose their cyber insurance products, because they are not confident about the risk of the policyholder. So this is another huge problem.
Okay, Sandro,
Fareed,
anything to add on this? I mean,
No, I think it's going to come, but it will take some time because companies need to trust the insurance companies. The insurance company needs to trust the market, and at this moment, the trust is simply not there yet.
yeah,
It's coming slowly, and it will have to go through path like someone who's trusted by the customer has to offer an insurance that is acceptable by the customer, and and the thing is still not the trust is still not there's not enough trust in that part of the market to allow the development of insurance, and it's not obligatory. So yeah, a lot of we buy insurance when we are forced to buy insurance,
yeah.
and it's not there yet.
No,
yeah,
okay, but also like this is interesting because from my perspective when I'm thinking about it, I'm like anything that I can do to reduce the risk because right now, even though you might not have cybersecurity insurance, you have some business insurance, right? And this business insurance is still kind of liable to threats that you have in your business. So if your business suddenly like I don't know, money goes out of the bank account or there's fraud, your regular business insurance is still liable. So anybody like if Andrea can maybe just give you an indicator like, hey, this guys are getting a 70 out of 100. That's just like additional information for an insurance company. So maybe I mean none of you guys work for insurance companies, so not a question for you. But I would love to kind of ask insurers like, hey, like, there's some additional information you're getting from a lot of we have Andreas runs one company. We have quite a few other companies that do similar things all over the world. And I always wonder, like, you're getting a little bit more insurance information to provide that insurance, because another insurance company is still liable for the whole business, right? So we'll cross that bridge. We'll cross that bridge when we come to. But it's again like brought up this problem of trust. And I know, like, I don't know what you guys think, but cybersecurity always is sold on trust, right? So we have this problem of trust overall between customers and companies. Okay, so we're going to pause this one over here. I'm going to again ask anyone who's listening, if you have any questions, go ahead and write it. We've already asked one question. I have another question from Diana. I'm going to ask a little bit later. So Diana, if you're listening, stay online. But I'm going to kind of delve a little bit deeper into kind of figuring out what happened in 2023 in the past, right? So all of you guys have been working in this vertical since 2023, some of you since 2022 and 2021. So I wanted to kind of put a contrast of like what's happened in 2023, what's happening now in 2024, and what do we expect in 2025? And if the easiest way to kind of look at this is like some of the surprises of 2023, what do we predict for 2024? And if you had money to, bet on, not gamble, I'm not encouraging gamble, but let's say if you had somewhere that you would really, focus on, what would that be in 2025? And this is again an open-ended question. And the reason they're open-ended is purely because we're trying to cover all three elements here: technology, startups, solutions, customers, and investment, right? So maybe five things. And let's start with Sandro on this one.
I was hoping you were starting on Andrea.
I know, this is the
It's,
biggest problem, but I'm trying to be random. So,
no, well, I see a lot of push on the regulation, certainly in Europe. There are like 20 different acts coming out, pushing all sort of um, yeah, the cyber resilience act is just one of them, and it's forcing company to have risk assessment well in place, to have vulnerability lifecycle management well in place, etc. I see a reaction to that, but I see a reaction that is sometimes not very mature. I see lots of startup just reaching out to grab that market without a very good plan, and then that is of concern. And what I think this market is going to consolidate. And those regulations are going to be a driver for the next couple of years. I mean, you said 23, 24, 25, and it's not that things change in 1 year to the other one. But I think it's going to be the present driver, certainly in Europe. There is a need, of course. Well, of course, AI is exploding. I'm an AI skeptic guy, but there's a sure need of streamlining and relieving the process of detection and response. So I haven't seen a solution yet for using AI in a security operations center. I think a lot of people are working at that. I hope to see some good solution within a couple of years for that. That's my 2 cents. Just
Okay. Andrea, let's go to you, and then Mohan will close. We'll kind of wrap up this part with you. But then, yeah, Andrea, what do you think?
Yeah, from the ecosystem point of view, according to the new regulation that will come live, for example, the NIS2 will have by the end of the year, will drive new business model or new startup from in the landscape. But I see an increasing in phishing attacks and ransomware targeting small businesses. So I hope and I believe that in the next year, this year, next year, those kind of business need to be prepared to defend against these attacks. So I believe that next year, maybe that peak that you mentioned at the beginning could be more near to be reached.
Okay. Mohan, from your perspective, especially from your customers and what people are buying.
I think people started doing protection side of things for it in 2024. 2023, the most sold offerings were security assessments for us,
Okay.
right? Variety of products and solutions. 2024, what's most sold is the virtual or fractional CISOs, which was very interesting because you don't think of a CISO unless you want to start actually defending consciously instead of just answering questions yes and no, right? So that's a good trend. And in 2025, I think Sandro mentioned, consolidation is key. We are struggling as a marketplace to provide a consolidated support. I'll give a small example. There's one customer who's breached in a city in India, southern India, and they got a ransomware attack on a holiday. Who do they call, right? So it starts from that, and I'm saying OFO4, they reached out to OFO4, that's a different thing. But then after that, figuring out the support in order to fix that, in order to just do the root cause analysis, took the engineers 2 days because it was a holiday and there was no coordination and communication for one whole day, right? So we had to plug the internet internet cord out. So so it's going to be a lot about consolidation, right? I think MSSPs are going to be replaced pretty soon because whoever sells or whoever provides quicker support, full support, 24/7 support, and provides it faster would actually take that out. So I would invest in consolidated products.
Okay, consult. And this is again quite interesting because I was talking to one of the startups quite recently about, they provide an end-to-end solution consolidated across, multiple parts, everything from awareness protection, deterrence to, what happens after remedial kind of services. And the question was always, they were like, yeah, but we don't know whether customers want like a jack of all trades or they want masters of ones, right? And this is something that again, I don't know the answer, but both Sandro and you, Mohan, telling me that apparently consolidation is going to be good. And another thing that you mentioned was fractional CISOs, and this is something that I haven't seen in the market. So it's actually really good to get this insight from a quantitative perspective, because obviously you're selling this, right? So we
Yeah.
get to know like this is the kind of the hottest let's say product of of this year so far. So we get to know that. Okay, great. And again, it's like great to kind of understand where we think this is going to go now. um, I have some more questions, but we have one question which is a very particular question, but it was asked by Diana about, what about if is there something that we have which can possibly alert companies on possible hacking? And I'm thinking this is more from a small medium businesses. What is the right either kind of software that they can have, or what kind of like products should they buy? And I want to start with like Mohan on this, and then go to Sandro and Andrea on top of that after that. Is there something that can kind of possibly alert them, give them an alert like, hey, there's been a breach, or there's a particular library that's got a vulnerability or a 0 day or something like that, and they can be alerted about that. Any
I
ideas,
think
Mohan?
Yeah, I think if you have security integrated into your DevOps, Farid, if you shift left and start from day one, for example, if
Mhm.
you're writing your first line of code on GitHub, I think that's when you should look at security. That I think works wonders, undoubtedly. So if you start from day one, I think that's good enough. In terms of products and stuff like that, only one thing that I can suggest is multi-factor authentication on everything that you use as an SMB.
Okay.
Just enable multi-factor authentication everywhere and start building security from day one.
Okay, Sandro, do you want to add anything to that? Multi-factor authentication
Well,
and
I think the question was about threat intelligence, and there are products, there are companies
that's
around
right.
there around here that do threat intelligence.
Mhm.
The problem with threat intelligence is that it's you cannot see everything on the planet. Even if you are the best threat intelligence company, you see what you look at, and sometimes you miss the target. But certainly having a good threat intelligence source can help that, and it can tell you whether you're becoming a target or not. Sometimes they can tell you you are a target before you actually know that you have been hacked. So threat intelligence is the answer to that. Threat intelligence is good, but not perfect.
Yeah. Andrea, anything to add to that? I know that you would say like, yes, you should have cyber angels and we can help you. But besides that, anything that you wanna add?
No, I agree. Threat intelligence is the key, but again, there is a I'm the simplifier here. So not any company is ready to understand what the threat intelligence output is telling you. So we need a baseline cybersecurity or baseline awareness about cybersecurity before applying threat intelligence approaches or product, whatever. Because if not,
Mhm.
you get the info, but okay, you care about it.
Yeah, and this is something that's quite interesting. I mean, I like the answers over here. And I've had like somebody who manages a really large national cloud infrastructure actually asked me like, hey, is there like a bill of materials, software bill of materials, company that can, audit bill of materials of software, so that whenever there's a vulnerability in a library or vulnerability in an open source, library of some kind, you can get to know if that library is particularly being used in some of the software that you're using. And so far, we haven't found anything like that. But I think Sandro, you mentioned on touched on this as well, like to kind of really understand like software, like the composition of software. So I think like predicting threat is inherently the kind of the oxymoron of a 0 day, right? That's why it's called a 0 day. You can't predict it, and this is why I think like when people talk about like AI in cybersecurity, I'm like yes, it'll improve efficiency. It might help you like protect and defend yourself better, but in the end, like it still wouldn't like help you. Even if you were to use correlation or any kind of modeling, it's still quite tough, right? Because that's the whole idea. This is information, this data that's never been there, so your model is not trained on it. And finally, like I tell everybody, and I think some of you mentioned is that I see cybersecurity now as we're going forward as somebody trying to break into a house, right? If they can see five padlocks, they're probably not going to try it. If they see one padlock, they're probably going to think like, I'm going to go for the one padlock versus the five padlocks. And then there'll be some houses that are completely open. And then the guy's going to be like, I'm not even going to go to the one padlock. I'm going to go to the completely open house. That's the easy one, right? And I think this is the one thing that I find as a deterrence, small medium businesses don't understand that they want 100% or nothing. And it's very interesting, like Mohan, you said, just use two-factor authentication, and it's not going to make you completely like you'll still be prone to phishing attacks. You'll still be prone to insider, let's say, attacks of some sort. And if somebody really wants to get you, they can do social engineering and all these things to come and get you, right? But the regular script kiddie or the regular guy just trying his luck, he's going to just move on to the easier target, right? And I think this is something that people don't understand. But I think we all mentioned that in small pieces, and I love that. I'm going to go to another question. So I'm actually disregarding all the questions I built because I think like it's really nice that people are asking questions in the comments. I want to really kind of go there. I got Rodolfo who's asked a question, and this is something that we've tried to instill in small medium businesses a lot, but it's also again really hard, just like cyber insurance. It's basically what role. I mean, Rodolfo asks, what role does organization culture play in shaping effectively cybersecurity practices? And how can companies kind of really cultivate this? I mean, this is like pretty much a cost center for them in a lot of cases, right? How do you incentivize to do this? And I'm going to start with Andrea here because Andrea's targets small and medium businesses, and they actually do have an awareness component in their product as well, right, on the platform, right? So Andrea, go ahead. But go ahead, Andrea. Tell us a little bit. Like, what do you think about this? How can an organization kind of shape the security first culture?
The main point, because without basically when you talk with talking with small business owner is the target, you are talking with people that make the money or bring the money to the company, and so they need to understand the whys, because they must have some cybersecurity baseline in their company. So building the right culture, starting with the basics. So with cybersecurity awareness training, with risk assessment, very basic risk assessment, are just two of the basic steps that on the basis of which you can build your company culture, and then you can progress later to a better and improved security.
Mohan, anything to add on this?
I think there has to be a champion for ETH. The only way to get the champion is to figure out who is actually able to handle a attack. Right, it's going to happen. If you're a small business, it's all about do you have a person in the company whose responsibility is to get it up in next 2 days, 2 hours, 20 minutes, 2 minutes, right? So I think every small business has to look at it like that. Like, okay, if my business goes down for 2 days, how much do I lose, and how much should I invest in cybersecurity, right? Because privacy loss is just starting up, right? I mean, data is the oil, and all that is gone now, right? Everybody has everybody's data. That's how it is, right? So I think having the champion first solves a lot of problems, right? So if there's a hack, who in the company am I going to call, right? Make that, and it's going to do a lot of magic.
Which is fun. I'm gonna come to Alessandro's over, which is very very interesting because I remember I was present. I was working in a big telco when the WannaCry hack happened or WannaCry ransomware happened, and literally you had people running around the company physically unplugging computers from the wall, and nobody knew who to call. Like nobody knew where to go. Nobody knew what the next step is. It's like you have a fire drill, you know exactly what to do. You have a person who falls ill and falls on the floor, you know exactly what number to call. Nothing like that for cybersecurity exists, which is actually very, very, very interesting. Even in companies today, nobody says like, "Hey, if you feel like you're being breached, call 118 or whatever, something like that." I don't know, right? But it doesn't exist. Sandro, over to you. Just thinking out
Yeah,
loud.
how many hours do we have to talk about this? This is, I mean, we are
9 minutes.
guilty. We are guilty of a lot of mistakes. We cybersecurity experts, quote unquote. I mean, we have been giving wrong advice for years, like change your password every so often because it's otherwise they're going to hack because your password are not changed. I mean, we were guessing something. We were doing wild guessing and just using our best guess to define some guidelines for the companies. And companies have become skeptical about that, and rightly so. I mean, there are scientific paper proving that a lot of our expert advice was actually nonsense, and that the expert advice was actually costing them a lot of money, much more money than being hacked would cost them. So
Mhm.
that's we need we need to rebuild some trust over there. And I am completely with you when you say, look, there's you don't know who to call when there's a fire. You know who to call when there's a fire. You don't know who to call when there's ransom or so. Well, that has to be fixed. But about creating a culture, it's a very expensive process, and I don't know where to draw the line between this is nice, healthy, and it helps, or this is actually too much time and too much money wasted into building something that is not going to help you when the next ransomware is gonna come in.
Mhm. So I think what you're saying is that there could be this fatigue, and I think it's coming up as well. I see like this cyber fatigue coming up. Like every time we go to any kind of pitching event or like we talk to small businesses, and then the first thing like they talk about is like, oh, did you know 72% times? And people are like, oh man, I know this. Like I'm fatigued. Like tell me practical stuff. Tell me stuff that matters. Tell me stuff. What do I do about it? And this is like me talking out loud because this is the same problem I face. Like I'm like, yeah, I know we're in trouble. Like, tell me how to fix it, you know? So
Well,
I think you're right there that the fatigue can also come in really fast with culture development, like it did with a lot of health and safety stuff that we saw when health and safety went crazy, right? And now we're getting some correction in the market. And it's important, of course, it's important, health and safety, likewise cybersecurity. But we have 7 to 10 more minutes before we need to close this. I know Sandra has a hard stop, and so does our live feed. I'm going to mention two things. Firstly, again, people who are listening, if you have questions, please ask them. I want to try asking some rapid fire questions now. Rapid fire questions are questions that you just say yes, no, and maybe a 10-second on it. And then we're going to ask a couple of closing questions as well. So here's a question for everybody. What do people think about investing in cybersecurity companies? Like we see a lot of tech companies being, high Nvidia and like in the stock market, but also overall like SaaS startups. We see a lot of investment going into these, but we never hear of people investing in cybersecurity. Why is that? Is that going to change in the future? And we keep this short to a minute. Andrea, you can go, and Andrea, you go, then Sandro, then Mohan.
Maybe in the future, but not yet, because cybersecurity is yet a nerd topic. It's not yet a business topic. So
But
yeah, definitely. So Nvidia is something is a company that people know because ChatGPT, blah blah blah. But cybersecurity, sometimes they read some news in paper, but
okay.
not me.
So we need to simplify it, demystify it. Sandro,
well, we see some very good VCs specializing in cybersecurity. We see them in the US, absolutely with very good returns, and we see them in Europe popping up more and more. There's one thing to say about cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is one of those places where there are few winners and many losers with respect to other areas like robotics, just to mention the other area of the VC fund I've worked for. where you have a niche. In cybersecurity, you don't have a niche. You immediately face the big competition. So no niche means only a very few are going to win and many are going to lose. So if you invest in cybersecurity, you have to play your card wisely. And I think investing in cybersecurity is a wise thing to do, provided you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, then you better find a good fund and look at the track record, and then you know whether they're good or suboptimal.
Mm-hmm. Mohan, anything to add on there?
It's a place to invest, but it's a place with high return if you know what you're doing. Sorry
Okay,
for
no, fair point. 4 point. Yeah. Mohan,
Yeah,
anything to add?
I think I would look at this as uh, a long-term game. Like if you're investing in security, if it's deep tech, at least 9 years. But if it's SaaS or anything else, you have to be cautious. If you're converting Excel sheets and what CISOs are doing into a SaaS product, I don't think that's gonna stay longer. You have to solve the core problems. And if you're solving the core problem, and if it's a problem that customers are asking, like investors get calls. If investor gets calls saying, "I need this cybersecurity product," which is never going to happen, right? So you have to figure ways to get buyer intents, right? I think if an investor can get a buyer intent and invest on companies that have higher buyer intent, that would be amazing.
Right. Okay. And we also got a shout of Tatiana there, who's our tech wizard coming in. But she's been working behind the scenes a bit. But no, just to kind of get some kind of quorum over here. So I mean, Sandra, you mentioned some interesting points. Uh, and and I don't know, like I'm a little conflicted on this. I'm a little conflicted because I've been speaking to some people who, who are distributors, and they tell me that I don't really need innovation in cybersecurity. They tell me, hey, Farid, we just want to be able to effectively provide cybersecurity to different customers and different clients at different price points. And I don't need innovation. Just solve the basic problems. And because there's a huge demand for it, it's like unmet demand across, like you said, there's WordPress, or there's e-commerce, WordPress, there's small medium businesses, there's solopreneurs, there's startups, and this all of this is currently unnoticed and underserved. And so, part of me thinks like, hey, this market is booming, and I just need somebody to do something 80% well, not like 100% well, right? And not innovative. But then some people tell me, like yourself, Sandro, you just said like, oh, but there has to be some innovation. There has to be, small amount of winners and less losers, and more losers, and I don't know the answer. But what you did mention is like, yes, it is quite difficult to invest in them, and this is why, if people don't know yet, but Wise Guy Cyber Fund One, we are one of the largest investors in this vertical, and we constantly get LPs who are interested in this vertical, and they don't know how to invest, or they don't know the vertical well enough. They're not, as Andrea put it, they're not. It's like a nerdy, geeky vertical. They don't know that, and so that's why they would rather come to a fund, put anything from 50K to higher up, and be able to co-invest in startups with us, which is a great way to do things. I mean, that's why we have so many investments. But also, it also made me think about something that Andrea mentioned, which was, but it's a geeky, nerdy, vertical. But then I think like, but I don't know anything about putting people in space, but I'm investing in SpaceX. I don't know anything about electric batteries, but I'm investing in Tesla, right? So it's also like a very oxymoron that people will invest in what's glittery and glamoury and like trendy, but they will not kind of think of like just the trend of like, hey, this is going to get worse and the demands are going to get bigger, right? So anyway, that's me thinking out aloud. But I think what I'm going to do is we have 4 minutes. We're going to start wrapping up. I'd like to just kind of wrap up with final words and maybe one concrete thing besides multi-factor authentication that you think small and medium businesses should do. And let's start with Sandro on this one, and we'll go to Andrea and then Mohan, because Mohan maybe has some unfair advantage on from his marketplace. So, so Sandro, anything like besides multi-factor authentication that you think small and medium businesses should do
If
as
you
of now?
if you look at small business, what they miss is good monitoring. I mean, they're still way behind, and you say, well, people don't need innovation, but the fact that they don't have good monitoring means that the monitoring is not suitable for their needs. So that will require innovation. And I think the vulnerability lifecycle management, going to the other end of the spectrum, to the more technical part, is going to be a very big issue for everyone, bigger and smaller companies.
Okay. So monitoring, Andrea, anything do you want to add to that?
Yeah, we need business owners start thinking about cybersecurity as a must-have to protect their own investment in their own company. This is the starting point that I want to be like, this is the point that we need to have in place. If not, anything we can say here is nothing for small business.
Okay. Okay.
I think
Mohan, what about you?
you just take a backup every time you shower. I think that's better for small businesses. It's all about getting back into the game quicker. So I think enable multi-factor, and like I said, every time you take a shower, just back it up.
Just back up everything that you have. Okay,
Yep.
great. Now I'm gonna try and close this, and I'm gonna mention a few things. Firstly, I want to thank like all the panelists to be here, and anybody who's listening, you can get in touch with all of them by LinkedIn, publicly available information. So you can reach out to Mohan, Andrea, or Sandro, and you can ask some interesting questions. So, for example, for Andrea, you can ask him how he experimented by launching his company in the US and what the outcome was. He has a very exciting story about how the unexpected completely happened. I'm not going to say it, but if you want to know more, you can reach out to Andrea. And to Sandro, you can actually ask him about the story about his exit and how he got into a VC after that, state of play being moving from one side of the table to the other. Again, another exciting story there. And with Mohan, you can ask him a little bit about how he manages to get a lot of interesting people to come and join Ofofo in their podcast, but also some of their customers are pretty big names on the marketplace, and of course he can give you good insights as to what products and what kind of like cybersecurity products are being sold. So these guys have conversations on their own, interesting stories. So please reach out to them for that. They're also wonderful people. I'm going to try and wrap it up. So, but if you're interested in cybersecurity, if you're a startup, you're looking for investment, we actually have the final rounds of application for our Bilbao for our growth program in cybersecurity and dual use defense. We're also one of the partners in the NATO Diana Accelerator as well, which is currently going through its first cohort. So if you're doing dual use defense, reach out as well. If you're an investor, we're still taking tickets on our fund, and the fund is doing really well. So you're getting in a good deal, as Sandro and Andrea would say. But finally, I want to say we're going to continue doing this series in about a month's time. On June 6th, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to have another webinar, and this time it's going to be on dual use defense. We're going to be getting in some startups from the defense sector. We're going to get in some investors who are investing in defense. We're going to get some founders who are currently operating their startups in currently war situations to really understand how you can start growing with governments. So really interesting if you're in that space as well. So the next one we're going to do is dual use defense, and then after that we're going to come back to cyber defense, and we're going to keep switching them around, hopefully getting good conversation going. But at this point, I have only a minute left. Thank you very much, Tatiana, Povilas, and Sergio, who've been the team behind the scenes doing amazing stuff. Thank you very much for putting this together. Mohan, Andrea, and Sandro, thank you very much. I don't think I have any more announcements, but I'll say thanks a lot. And we'll see you guys at the next webinar with Startup Wise Guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you